How to recognize your twin flame. 16 signs. Meeting your twin flame in the physical is the spiritual equivalent of being hit by a truck. It stands out, grabs your attention, and doesn't let go easily. The problem is there are other high-energy connections out there too that will stand out against a normal one, and the real problem in all of this? It's incredibly hard to describe what a true twin flame relationship feels like. Trying to describe twin flame energy is like trying to describe the color orange to someone who has never seen color. So how do you recognize your twin flame? The problems recognizing your twin flame. I've talked about the idea of twin flames falling in love at first sight before, but it doesn't always go the way you expect. This isn't a Hollywood rom-com, it's a spiritual journey, an intense connection. You might hate your twin flame at first sight. You might fall instantly head over heels. The only thing we know for sure is that the connection will stand out. There are two main problems with recognizing what is really going on. There are other high-energy connections and false twin flames that can seem like the real thing and also stand out from normal connections. The journey is innately riddled with doubt and uncertainty. It doesn't fit into our 2D understanding of relationships. We often struggle against what we know internally. How to recognize a twin flame relationship. While every path is unique, there are some common twin flame characteristics you can look out for. As with any of these signs, you should keep this kind of advice in the context of your own journey. You might see all of them. You might see a strange mix, you might see none at all, but your intuition is still telling you otherwise. You could get some guidance with a twin flame reading, but you can't judge your path or your twin entirely on external signs. You might have heard me say this before, it's because it matters. Use signs as guidelines and not hard-set rules. That said, there are some signs you can look for to help you recognize your mirror soul. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but common trends I see across a lot of journeys. Sign 1, number syncs. This one won't surprise anyone who has been here before. Twin flame number patterns are probably the most common external sign. When strange number patterns start showing up in seemingly strange coincidences, it's the universe, or perhaps your higher selves, trying to get your attention. If you're seeing the same number sequence over and over again, it's likely a synchronistic message. If it's pushing you towards a person, then they're important to your journey. They might well be your twin flame. What makes this first sign tricky is that most of the time these numbers go straight over our heads and only our subconscious picks them up. Sometimes where you see these patterns is important as the spiritual meaning of the pattern itself, and it's drawing you towards a place, time, or person. Sign 2. Uncanny similarities. People often focus on the physical similarities between twin flames, but don't get too focused on this. I think the terminology of calling them twins makes people think they have to look alike. The similarities actually go far beyond just how you look. There are deep-seated connections that you share as a result of being two aspects of the same soul. This can manifest in all sorts of ways, but some common ones include having the same interests, skills, talents, or life paths, similar life experiences, goals, and levels of energy. Twin flames are not the only connection you'll find this kindred spirit vibe with, but it will be uncanny how closely matched the two of you are. You might feel like you know each other without ever having met. Sign 3. Intense and unusual emotions. This connection can be incredibly hard to process, especially in the earlier stages. It can put us on an emotional roller coaster with an intensity we're not familiar with. Some of this can be good, see sign 4 in a moment, but a lot of it is tough. You might feel like you're constantly going from extreme highs to extreme lows. You might swing between wanting to be around them all the time and wanting to run for the hills. What adds to this is, your twin is often feeling the same way, and this turbulence of emotion reverberates through the bond the two of you share. This creates a loop where the more you try to suppress how you're feeling, the more intense it can get. Sign 4. The drive to improve. This is where things start to get really interesting. Twin flames are a catalyst for growth. They shake us up, challenge our beliefs, and force us to examine ourselves. The entire path they set us on is one of growth and healing. We often don't equate this one directly to our twin, but physically meeting them often triggers this drive. Twin flames are the other half of our soul, and we feel an intense compulsion to become the best possible version of ourselves. This goes beyond our love life. Consciously or not, meeting the other half of our soul will push you to improve. You might want to exercise, get that promotion, or fling yourself across the world and experience new things. What you change will be unique to you, but feeling this intense need to change something is probably one of the most internal ways of recognizing your twin flame. If you're aware enough of the journey, you might be driven to bring you both together as a couple. But in either case, you'll be driven to further yourself as an individual. We want to be the most authentic, enlightened, and empowered versions of ourselves that we can be. Sign 5. Telepathic communication. This one is either one of the easiest or hardest to spot. Twin flame telepathy varies so wildly between couples, and for some it will be instantly obvious, while others are never really consciously aware of it. Some people recognize their twin flame because this telepathic communication allows them to speak together, no matter how physically far apart they are. This means they can send and receive thoughts without any words being spoken. Some don't have this blatant and conscious communication, but they share waves of emotion and feelings through the bond. This can be really subtle, but if you're attuned to it, you'll know what it feels like. Others still only experience this telepathy in dreams or during moments of intense spiritual connection. Understanding this properly and learning how to use it can really help guide your journey onward. Sign 6. A sense of urgency. This one is driven by your higher selves. The twin flame connection is so incredibly rare. The simple fact you're both in the same place at the same time in the same lifetime means you have an opportunity that very, very few are going to have. This urgency is what creates the feeling that you have to do something, even if you're not quite sure what that is. It might be a nagging feeling at the back of your mind, or an intense drive to take action, but this sense will always be there, pushing you along, driving you to take advantage of the opportunity before you. Sign 7. You go through stages. From that initial meeting to reaching physical union, the twin flame stages start long before you physically meet and continue long after this lifetime. While the lines blur and people argue over meanings and terminology, there are some incredibly common patterns you see repeating. The high-energy meeting, the infatuation and confusion, and almost always the separation stage, give you both a chance to heal and work on yourselves. Sign 8. You're magnetically. Something has to keep you going through these stages, especially the difficult ones, and we often refer to this force as the magnetic pull. Physically, emotionally, and energetically, you're drawn to them like a moth, and they're pulled towards you, even though a twin flame runner often won't understand why. This pull is so strong it can override all other logical thoughts and feelings. It's like nothing else in the world matters when you're around them or thinking about them. Sign 9. The relationship is different. It will never feel the same as a previous relationship. There's a depth, a power, and an intensity that's impossible to replicate. If you can compare the two, then you're either close to the strength of the connection or not with your true twin flame. This should be one of the easiest ways to recognize your twin flame. If it feels like just any other relationship, then that's exactly what it is. It's important to remember that the twin flame connection isn't about just two people being together. It's a reunion of two halves of a soul, and as such, it touches everyone and everything around you. Sign 10. You're more compassionate. As twin flames draw closer towards union, they push each other to be better. Better in every sense. Even in the earlier stages, this manifests as deep compassion and care for other people. Twin flames are already good people, with an abundance of energy to help others. But when you enter a relationship with the other half of your soul, this only intensifies. You want to help, you want to heal, and you want to make a difference in the world. You'll not only push yourself and your twin further, you push humanity as a whole forward. Sign 11. You're more patient. Along with the increased compassion comes an increase in patience. More so with others than with yourself sometimes. This doesn't mean you won't feel frustrated when a runner twin doesn't act the way you wish they would. You see their flaws, as they mirror your own, but it helps you ride out the waves of the more emotional stages. You're more able to forgive and forget, not just with your twin, but with others around you. Sign 12. You're more mindful. All of a sudden, the here and now become incredibly important. Life feels more important, and you don't want to waste a single moment. Whether you're actively practicing mindfulness or it's a reactive response to meeting them, this is an incredibly important sign. It's your way of becoming present and tuned into what's happening, not just with them, but with the world around you. You start to see how everything is connected, and how your thoughts and actions create ripples that echo out into the future. This is because you understand on a deeper level that life is short. Too short for petty arguments and misunderstandings. You have an opportunity for something much greater in front of you. Sign 13. Dreaming of them. Dreaming about your twin flame, or any other person for that matter, is a way for your subconscious to communicate with you. Part of the telepathic bond you share means meeting in dreams where your communication is at its most open and pure. You may find yourself dreaming about them in different ways. Sometimes you'll be together. Sometimes you'll see them from a distance, and sometimes you'll just know what they're thinking. Sometimes there might be something that seems entirely unrelated to them, but your intuition is telling you the dream represents your connection in some way. Your twin flame dreams about you too for much the same reason. When you dream about your twin flame, pay attention to the details. I often suggest keeping a dream journal to help you retain details, as they can provide guidance and advice on your path. Sign 14. Feeling of familiarity. There is an intense feeling of familiarity when you meet your twin flame. You've both known each other much longer than your age on the physical. This can manifest differently because while our higher selves are excited to reconnect like this, we often don't understand the feeling. It might manifest as a gut feeling or an intense sense of coming home. It can also feel like there's a missing piece of you that has finally come back. You sign 15. They can push your buttons. Your twin is completely capable of pushing your buttons whether they mean to or not. Even if this is the first time you're both meeting in person, they will know how to get under your skin. It's because they know all of your buttons as well as they know their own, and they're often not even consciously aware of it. Why is this a sign? Because they know how to access your deepest wounds and triggers. They know how to push all of your buttons in a way that nobody else can, and they do it lovingly, with the intent of healing you. Sign 16. There's a strong sexual attraction. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Twin flames are drawn to each other like magnets, and sexual attraction is often one of the most powerful forces at play. Like sign 8, twin flame sex is going to stand out. If you can compare it to another relationship, it's probably not the real thing. This is more than just two physical bodies coming together. For twin flames, this is something else entirely.